How about we diagnose some soccer injuries, or football, depending on where you're from. Let's get started. Whoop. By the way, growing up as a soccer fan, because I came from Russia and that was my first sport, I was captain of my high school soccer team, subtle flex. I actually loved the French national team, Thierry Henry, Zinedine Zidane. These were people that I really looked up to growing up.
Patrick Battiston found himself through on goal.
Oh, did he just lay him out? He was playing the wrong kind of football.
Let's have another look at this.
Oh, his hip bone hit him directly in the temple. He lost 2 teeth, broke 3 ribs, and sustained lifelong damage to his vertebrae. When you're traveling at that rate of speed and you bump into something as hard as a femur, remember the femur is one of the strongest bones in the human body. It has the tensile strength of steel, stronger than concrete. Like, this thing is tough. I'm not saying test it, but I'm saying it's tough. Oh, see, that's a really unfortunate injury because getting a patella, the kneecap, directly into the vertebrae of your spine can be so painful. Remember, the vertebrae are bones that stack on top of one another that protect your spinal cord. But then from your spinal cord are spinal nerves that then go out and become your peripheral nerves. So if you get a really hard knock onto your vertebrae, obviously you could risk fracturing it. That's incredibly painful. But you could also damage those nerves. And when you damage nerves, that's not like symptoms that go away in a few minutes. They're lingering, they're numbing, they're tingling. They cause what's known as paresthesias, which are abnormal sensations in your hands and your legs. So this type of injury is very devastating. The official diagnosis was a lumbar vertebrae fracture. Shortly after he took the hit, he said in an interview he could be in a wheelchair had the knee come a little to the left. I've had patients with compression fractures that have just absolutely debilitating pain. Pretty much we ended up having to resort to opioids because it's that bad. There are unique situations with compression fractures where we actually can use some nasal sprays known as calcitonin, which can help with pain. Kind of unusual because that's not typically a pain relieving spray, but the mechanism behind that is quite interesting. Oh, Cristiano Ronaldo. Oh, God. That was a heavy hit. He's grabbing the knee. Now, a lot of times when you're an athletic trainer or a sports medicine doc, when you're on the field or right off the field and you try and do a knee exam, if there's a tear, there's so much global swelling, especially if you tear like the ACL, because essentially when you tear a ligament, there's bleeding that happens there. And that's where a lot of the swelling comes from, and the inflammatory cells, that it's very hard to do a special test and hope to get an accurate result because everything hurts. Everything seems like it's a positive result. You really got to wait for the inflammation to come down and get some imaging. Ronaldo was involved in a collision in the 9th minute, and he suffered a grade 1 ACL ligament sprain in his left knee. Xavi Alonso. Oh, what happened there? Oh, this is Spain, Holland. Oh my God. Okay, so for those who don't know, one of the worst things you can do that should be an automatic red card is flying at another player through the air with an outstretched leg and a locked knee, cleats up, meaning the spikes of the cleat up. Now, when we play in high school, we usually use something known as FG cleats, which are firm ground cleats, so they're like plasticky. But then in professional soccer, they usually use SG cleats, which are called soft ground cleats, and these are metal, sharp cleats. So imagine you're flying at a high rate of speed with a locked knee. That means there's no give once you make contact. And you hit someone with metal object directly into their chest where their ribs are, their heart is, vital organs. Oh my God. We've seen even what happened in American football when someone gets hit directly into the chest, and we don't know that's exactly what happened with the Buffalo Bills, but we know in baseball, for example, if the baseball hits you in the right time of your electrical conductivity of your heart, it could stop the heart. The same thing could have easily happened here.
Tonight, one of the world's leading soccer stars collapsing at the Euro 2020 tournament.
Play is going to be.
Yeah, he fell on his own without anyone hitting him. His heart just suddenly stopped.
His teammates forming a protective circle around the midfielder.
And then they started chest compressions, chest compressions, chest compressions. Because when someone is pulseless, that's what you do until help arrives.
Eriksson is now awake and stabilized in the hospital, and he'll be staying there for further examination.
They likely got ROSC, which is return of spontaneous circulation. This can happen from just doing chest compressions. It can happen from giving medications. If he had a shockable rhythm, which is a type of heart rhythm that would respond to one of those defibrillators, you can shock the patient and actually shock them back into the correct rhythm, establishing a pulse. So unclear what happened with him, but the fact that they acted quickly, did the chest compressions right away, that bought them time to do medical interventions. That's what the purpose of CPR is.
An implanted cardioverter defibrillator was soon fitted as a countermeasure for any rhythmic disturbances. But the device fell outside of Serie A's medical regulations, and by October, Eriksson found himself suspended from action for Inter Milan.
Wow. So the implantable defibrillator that they're talking about is one that you basically put underneath the skin and you put some wires directly into the chambers of the heart. If the monitor detects an abnormal heart rhythm that is shockable, meaning just like the defibrillator that we keep on the outside, that we keep at Little League games, it will actually act and shock right in that moment. Now, I'm not sure what are the medical, legal regulations that prevented him from playing at Inter Milan, but it could be as simple as their insurance did not cover a person playing on their team with this significant of a risk. It's really more so about the risk that he's facing rather than his ability. Oh, did he pop his Achilles? To me, this looks like an Achilles injury. Yep, he's grabbing at the Achilles. And for those who don't know, the Achilles tendon is the one that attaches the calf muscle to the back of your foot, the heel, the calcaneal bone. The gastroc muscle is so strong that it actually needs to be able to propel your full body weight up at any given moment. So it's very explosive. The Achilles tendon is very strong, but if it's ever injured due to tendonitis or some kind of other injury, it can snap. And one of the tests we do in the medical office is called the Thompson test, where we actually have the patient lay face down, squeeze their calf, and actually see their foot move forward. Now, if that action's not happening with the foot, we know that there's probably a disconnect with the Achilles tendon. We can do a musculoskeletal ultrasound to confirm this. And the reason why we're seeing Beckham stumble here is because he's not able to plantar flex his foot because of the lack of connection to his calf muscle. A lot of times from the Achilles tendon being so strong and constantly pulling on that calcaneal bone in the back, it can actually create a deformity in the bone known as a Hag-Lund deformity. And it creates like this bump on the back of your foot, so much so that these days some soccer players are actually cutting out a square of their soccer boot to allow room for that little bony deformity.
Zidane jogs past Materazzi. Words are exchanged. And then...
Oh, it's incredible how strong Zidane is, that from a shot like that, he made the other player go parallel to the ground. You gotta be strong to do that. And you could break a sternum. You know what's interesting is I don't think by rules the referee's allowed to look at replay at that moment. So the referee didn't see that happen, but then they kept replaying it in the stadium, and I think that's what led the referee to actually issue the red card. And it actually sucked because Zidane is one of France's best penalty kickers, and then they ended up needing to go to penalties, and Trezeguet, I believe, missed the penalty. Had Zidane been there, it might have been a different story.
Zidane paid the price.
Yeah, that was Trezeguet missing the penalty kick. Oh yeah, this is the biter. It's incredible how many times he's been caught on camera biting people. Like, there's cameras everywhere. My guy, how do you know you're not gonna get caught? And by the way, getting bitten by a human is probably worse than getting bitten by a dog, unless the dog is like rabid. The human mouth has so many different types of bacteria that you need broad antibiotic coverage for it.
Dare I say it, that he's had a little bite at Chiellini. Surely not
a little bite. And you know what's funny? This isn't the only time he's done this. He's done this like 3 times. Yeah, there was like memes of him looking like a rat because he's constantly biting people. Oh my God, that's so dangerous. Oh my, but I mean, that's not Cristiano's fault, but oh my God, the fact that he landed like that. You know what's a common injury in soccer, which could have been here, is a clavicle fracture. Falling on a shoulder on an outstretched arm is kind of common. And you know that to prevent injury, FIFA actually released a program called the FIFA 11 Plus, which literally dictates the warm-up you should do in order to reduce injuries by as much as like 50%. I think that's what the program claimed. They did the research showing that by doing this program, you decrease like ACL injuries and all these other ones. It's pretty incredible that now all the teams started doing that.
In the round of 16 of the Champions League, Leo impressed everyone against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. The dream shattered. In the 22nd minute, Messi ran after a loose ball and suddenly stopped in his tracks. He collapsed on the floor. You could see the pain in his face, the tears in his eyes. He had torn his right leg hamstring.
Oh, that's one of the most painful injuries. Oh my God, especially if it pulls off completely and tears. Oh my God. A hamstring injury is so hard to recover from. Wide receivers in the NFL, soccer players, anytime you have to sprint, especially on a fatigued hamstring, oof.
The nasty incident involving Firmino took place during a Premier League game when Liverpool played against Spurs at Wembley Stadium,
Oh!
with the Belgian accidentally poking Firmino's eye with his finger. Initially, things looked really bad, but following a quick medical intervention, any severe complications were prevented.
Oh, that's very lucky. You can get into a lot of trouble. I mean, even minor things like a corneal abrasion require antibiotics, anti-inflammatories, especially if you wear contacts that can predispose you to all sorts of issues. So don't get poked in the eye, folks. Running around the streets of New York City answering people's questions. Click here to check that out to enjoy New York City and learn a little something and have fun. As always, stay happy and healthy.